Welcome back to Made for More. I am your host, Holly J. Moore. I'm a divorce lawyer who is passionate about helping you use the adversity in your life to grow and show up as the best version of yourself. I am joined today by my producer, Aaron Bender.
I am excited for today. It is an episode all about forgiveness.
It is, yes.
We've not had one like that before.
No,
it's been incorporated,
right?
Obviously,
well, yeah.
In I think most episodes, if not all of them.
Yeah,
but never one about forgiveness.
True. Aaron, do you hold a grudge?
I'd like to say no. I probably hold a few here and there, but no. I used to hold so many grudges. Most of them at myself. Just let go, buddy. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. What about you?
So my dad has always said happiness is a bad memory, and I tend to not remember like people that have quote unquote wronged me.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's because I actually have an amazing memory. I have like a photographic memory, and I have a really strong memory for what people say. Like, I think it's like years of doing cross-examination and listening to testimony and stuff like that. My friends like tease me and they call me court reporter because I'm like, no, actually you said, must and not may. Like, so, but I think it's like a weird defense mechanism where I don't remember things. It's kind of funny actually recently. You know how TikTok does that weird thing where it will like pop on your phone and be like, so-and-so is on TikTok right now.
Oh, yes.
It's
Try
like,
to get you back in.
I guess, yeah. And so it was like my very first assistant that I had ever hired, and it like popped up. She must still be in my phone or whatever. And it popped up and it was like, on TikTok right now. We should bleep that name out, by the way, after.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, bleep
all
the
right.
name.
Give me more work to do.
Sorry. But so I was like, oh, what's she doing? I haven't like seen her, talk to her in years. So I like went on to her, watched her TikTok videos, and she had like fallen on hard times. She had just like had something tragic happen. Oh, no. And I know. And I turned to Jeff and I was like, I wonder if I should reach out to and like offer her a job again. And he turns to me. He's like, the same that sued you? And I was like, oh, you're right. That did happen. And then so it jogged my memory. She sued me for like she sued me for like lunch breaks. I mean, Aaron, you work at the firm. You're here. You know how we roll. Like, we have catered lunches all the time. Like, I am not like pinning anybody down, being like, you can't take a lunch break. I mean, anyway, she found like this crazy loophole in like labor law. She sued me for lunch breaks. I paid her a good chunk of change. I did write shakedown money in the memo of the check. My lawyer said it was okay that I do that. But, okay, and it was this whole thing. But, like, I totally did not remember that. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to hire her again. Like, she's falling on hard times. I want to help her. And Jeff's like, she sued you.
Wow.
So, happiness is a bad memory. We are joined today by Katharine Giovanni, someone I would call a forgiveness expert and the author of this amazing book, The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power. Katharine, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I would just like to start by saying thank you so much for forgiving us that we were late to start the show.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
So I read your book. As you can see, I've got my little tabbies, my highlights, as I often do. And I just want to start with something in the book, because I think so often when people think about forgiveness, or when they think about forgiving someone else, they feel like it's sort of giving someone else some power. They feel like they're giving the enemy the power. Would you agree with that?
I agree. I mean, on a 10 scale, with 10 being unforgivable, horrific dumpster fire, and 1 being the easiest person in the world to forgive, 10 out of 10 people watching this and listening to this is all thinking of their number 10. And that's why nobody wants to forgive, because these people hurt you. And there are things that are unforgivable in this world, because there are.
Right. That's true. But what I think is poignant in your book is it says, as I've said before, forgiving someone does not mean that they were right, nor does it mean that you want a relationship with them. For me, forgiveness is intensely private and personal. And that's what I wrote on my cup, free yourself. Because don't you think forgiveness is really, it's about freeing yourself of this negative experience, right?
It is. Forgiveness is selfish. You do it for you. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. And it also, I'm not giving you a pass. You're still awful. It means I want to get you out of my head.
Yes.
Saying,
You're still awful.
They're awful. But they're in my head. The formal dictionary thing for me is I want you out of my head. Bottom line.
Right.
I want to stop thinking about you. I want to stop dreaming about you. I want to stop talking about you. And when I go on Facebook or social media, I don't want to have an emotional reaction when I see your picture. That's what forgiveness means. Now, that being said, you can also forgive dead people, quite frankly, because where they are or are not doesn't matter a lick. Because you're forgiving for you. The fact they're still in your head, living rent-free, that's where you want them out, right? So you forgive for you. You forgive because it's selfish, because you want to be free, 100%.
So, Katharine, you seem like a very forgiving person now, but tell me a little bit about how you arrived to this, because I read your book and you were not always this way, right?
No, quite frankly, I wasn't. It probably started in the 8th grade never mind what year it was. We just won't go there, shall we? But let's say I was in the 8th grade. My parents were very pickled people, getting a horrible divorce. I was getting really badly bullied in school, so I tried to commit suicide. And a friend talked me out of it, needless to say. But I went through the next 10, 15 years as one of those kids. You know the kids I'm talking about, right? They've got one friend and they're just kind of depressed. That was me for a very long time, until my mother died. And she fell down some stairs, broke her hip, and ended up in Lenox Hill Hospital in New York City. And even my mother couldn't get a gin and tonic in the hospital. So she tried out, and we sent her to rehab. And then I spent 3 brilliant years with her. I am truly blessed that I actually got 3 sober years. We were close. We forgave each other, and we were tight. And then she died. And I realized that if I didn't do something, I was going to die too. So at last count, I've been sober for 34 years. So needless to say, I cleaned my act up and I kind of picked myself up. But when you go in recovery, they want you to make something called amends. And they want you to reach out and call people and forgive. I was born shy. Shy as a church mouse. So reaching out to people just was not my cup of tea. Now I'm an extroverted introvert now, because I've taught myself how to get out of it. But all those years ago, wasn't a fan. So when I came up with this method with my associates, this method is personal. It's private, and I can relieve your viewers' stress right now. You don't have to reach out and call them. You can do it in the privacy of your own home. Nobody's got to know. This is a very selfish act. And we are overlooking the fact that whoever you're mad at isn't thinking about you at all. Doesn't that make you mad? Right. You're spending all this time being angry, and they're going out to dinner and living their life and having a glorious old time while you're miserable.
Right. I'm trying to look for the exact name. I think you named it the Forgiveness Matrix. Is that what you named it?
I did.
Okay. So tell us how the Forgiveness Matrix works.
Well, everybody tells you to forgive. Your pastor, your parents, your teachers. Nobody teaches you how.
It's so true.
And what if you don't want to?
Yeah. Yes.
Then you're kind of stuck. Right?
Yes. I think that is so important to point out, because I always believe that people hold on to things that serve them. So, and I think you really highlighted in the book, some people simply don't want to forgive. They want to keep their pain. No. It's become a part of who they are. And so I think maybe is the first step, like you have to decide, okay, I don't want that to be a part of me anymore?
I think you have to decide that you want to be free. Let me give you a visual. For everybody listening to this broadcast, hop over to YouTube. But if you can't, I'm about to hold a very opaque purple, thank you very much, coffee cup in front of my face. When you first get angry, this coffee cup represents anger and bitterness and resentment. So when I first get angry, look at my body language. You and I can have a conversation. You and I can talk. I can manage my anger, I'm telling you. Easy. No, it's not bothering me at all. But the longer I hold on to it, the more it's going to bother me. So now I'm using two hands to hold up the cup. Now it's starting to interfere with my life, and it's starting to come into my thoughts. If I keep holding on to it, now I'm holding the cup right in front of my face. My life has stopped at this point because all I can see is the anger. All I can see is the resentment. I'm talking about it. I'm joking about it. It's all I can breathe. And I'm missing things. I'm missing if I'm just seeing anger, I'm missing a dream career opportunity that just walked by. I'm missing my dream, spouse. I'm missing a health alternative to cure me of my cancer. Why? Because I'm not paying attention. So forgiveness is going to allow you to start to pay attention. And my method is I want you to sit down and I want you to write down the people, places, and things. I did say places and things, so everybody stay with me. But I want you to write down all the people you think you want to forgive. And then I want you to rate them from 1 to 10, 10 being a dumpster fire. And I want you to start with the number ones. The easy ones. The person who stole your lunch out of the refrigerator yesterday at the office. You could forgive that person. The person on I-95 South who cut you off. Well, maybe they were late to work. You can forgive that person. The easy ones. And I want you to work your way up to the hard ones. And the whole myth, the special sauce to the whole thing is everybody forgets about the energy. Einstein proved without a shadow of doubt that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just transforms from one to another. So when we get mad, you think that it leaves your mouth and it dissipates magically in the universe. It does not, sadly. It hangs around your energy field. And everything, including this microphone, has energy. So my method, you don't have to hold crystals unless you want to. You don't have to dance around the room on one leg unless you like to hop. Whatever you want to do works for me. But it's a very simple poem, a mantra, if you will. And you forgive the person, the energy around the person, yourself, the energy around yourself, and the energy around the whole thing. It's a very simple thing.
And you talk about in your book, you talk about sort of like the energy of life and the energy that we're all, holding as we walk around and interact.
Right.
But one of the things that you said was if forgiving a person makes such a difference to your body and life, because you also went through all the things about how it can forgiveness and forgiving people in your life really makes a physical difference. Can you imagine what forgiving the energy around your body might do? So to you, this is like forgetting the energetic aspect of it is huge. It's significant. Like you have to also forgive the energy, right?
Forgiving the energy is absolutely huge because I get people coming up to me all the time saying, well, I did forgive them. Of course, they're probably saying it through clenched teeth. So yeah, I've got to give it another go, But they didn't forgive the energy. So when let's say you're driving down the road and you hit a red light and on the corner there is a school you used to go to and you were bullied in that school. Well, you remember that in the blink of an eye, it downloads into your brain. So by the time you get to work, you're kind of pissed off. So how do you relieve that? Well, you forgive the energy. So you forgive the energy around the building. You forgive the table, the desk, the chair, the playground. You can forgive the energy around these things. You forgive the date that it happened. I forgave 1974.
Yes.
Now, I did forgive all the players in 1974, but at the end of the day, 1974 was the year I tried to commit suicide, so I forgave the energy around 1974. And now when I look back at my childhood, I can see the pockets of love that were there. And I can regurgitate the hate if you want me to, but now it's almost like my memories have completely changed now. I can see the love that was always there from the beginning. So that's what forgiveness is going to do for you. Now, another thing people say is, anger is toxic. Okay, how? I love the how. There's a Japanese, and I'll make this really fast. There's a Japanese researcher, and I know I want to say Matsumoto, but that's close. And if you Google Japanese water study, you'll find it. And what he did is he took several containers of water. One container he spoke loving words, beautiful words. The other container he spewed hate at, horrible words. Then he froze the water and put it under a microscope. The water that he said nasty things to had these black and brown nasty formations. The water he spoke love to were these beautiful crystalline snowflake-looking things. And why am I telling you this? Wow. The human body is, give or take 98% water. So when your self-talk is bad and you're angry and bitter, what do you think's happening to the water molecules within your body?
Right. Well, and you also have the example of the Ikea plant in your book.
Yeah.
Similar, I think similar premise. Right. Yep. One plant was, talked lovingly to, and the other plant was, they were mean to it.
Yeah.
And it was like a marked difference with the plant.
Yeah, the plant almost died. One of my plants in my house is over 30 years old, and we call him Grandpa. Do I talk to him? Sure I do. All the time.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to go back to a little bit, because you talked about it in your book, and then you just mentioned like regurgitating, the memory or the story or whatever. Retelling the story over and over again is not the best thing to do, right?
No, because you're almost reliving the memory, if you keep retelling it. And even if you retell it funny, there's some part of you that's really upset. I mean, don't be surprised if you make your list and you label a person a number 3. And this is like a layers of an onion. You're going to be peeling off layers. So even if you don't think this works, it's going to work, because you just peeled off the first layer. And once you peel off that first layer, don't be surprised if you remember things and all of a sudden you're really angry, and that number 3 person might really be a 6. And it's because the brain is a magical, beautiful tool that protects you. So as you peel back the layers, more stuff's going to come up. And then I have these wonderful people who come up to me and they say, anger is my gasoline. It fuels my fire. I made a lot of money being angry, and my childhood, this is why I am who I am today. Okay, let's talk about that. You can take the local train and get to the same spot. You can. But it's painful. You're going to stop at every stop. You're going to get all the germs. You're going to do all the horrible stuff. Wouldn't you rather take the express? I submit to you, love and forgiveness will give you twice as far, twice as fast than hate and anger will.
Right. So what about the opposite end of the spectrum? Because Aaron and I were talking before the show, and also in segment 1, the segment that we do before we bring the guest on. And I was asking him if he holds a grudge, and we were kind of talking about that. And also in reading your book, I mean, I was kind of thinking, I can't think of anybody in my life that I need to forgive. And I feel like I'm generally a pretty happy person, and I get over things pretty quick. I also don't remember bad things that happened, and people will remind me like, whoa, that person did that to you, like, and you're still talking to them. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. What about that end of the spectrum? Should that type of person sit down and sort of try to drudge up all the wrongdoings in their life, or would that be more harmful than beneficial?
I think that's a little counterintuitive, to be honest.
Okay.
I think that the first thing I would do would be I forgive myself for not being able to forgive, and the energy around this thought. Bottom line.
Okay.
And that's gonna get the party started. There are some things probably in the back of your mind that you have forgotten. Yeah. And once you say that thought, have a pen and paper or your laptop, I don't care, and write down whatever comes into your mind. It might be a place, it might be a date, and you don't even remember the date. Okay, well, if Thursday, February 7th, 1994 comes up, just forgive the date. Don't even question why you're forgiving the date, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. So whatever comes out, write it down. Now, I did forgive some other things in my life. I forgave cancer. I forgave the radiation. I forgave the table. I forgave the chemotherapy. I forgave the chemo. I forgave the doctors. I forgave the chemo chair. Actually wrote a book in the chemo chair because I was bored, but that's another story for another time. But, I forgave a lot of stuff like that. And it's the more you do this, the more you'll just kind of think about it. Then yourself is probably the biggest person you're going to forgive. And the way I forgave myself, because none of us are perfect, right? I I can't pronounce this word, compartmentalized, there it is, my life. So I could forgive teenage Katharine. She survived, and she created a personality so she could survive and get out of the hell that she was in. I can forgive that kid because I'm 63 now. I could forgive 20-something-year-old Katharine because she did the best that she could with the tools she had. There's I am not religious, but there's I had to recite Bible verses in school, and there's a Bible verse that always gets me to forgiveness. It's actually how I forgave my parents. Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. And I think what he means by that is he's saying, if you're in the 5th grade and you don't know trigonometry, I can't get mad at you because you haven't learned it yet. So I could forgive 20-year-old Katharine because there was so much she didn't know at that point, and I could forgive that kid. I could forgive my parents because they did the best they could. Was it good enough? No, of course not. But they did the best they could. And if you combine that with some Simone Biles level mental gymnastics, then I kind of was able over time to walk it back. Now, you're not going to get a number 10 person down to a 1 overnight. Not going to happen. This is a marathon, not a sprint. This is shadow work, and this is going to take a minute.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to the actual work, because I, as I tend to do, probably derailed you. Because we started talking about the forgiveness matrix. You talked about how you list all your people 1 to 10 based on kind of the severity.
Oh, yeah.
Then
list all your people 1 to 10, and then I want you to take the first person, and I want you to remember them as they were when you knew them, not what they look like today. If you're talking about somebody who you knew in the 7th grade, remember that 7th grader, how you remember that person. And then if you want to, you can talk to that person, say anything you want. Remember, you're alone in a room. Nobody's around you. And hopefully there's a magic button on your cell phone. It's called the off button. I don't know if everybody knows that it's there. But
I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah, there's this magic thing on the button. And there's also another magic button. It's called mute. So you can mute your phone for a little while, right? Have mine muted right now. So my whole point is I want you alone with no distractions. And once you've said whatever it is you want to say to this person, imagine that they leave the room, and I want you to say the mantra with your hand over your heart. And the reason your hand is over your heart is because the words are just for the humans. It's the energy behind the words that means the most. And you say the mantra, and then I want you to check in with your body. Does it still feel like a number 7 person, or maybe it's down to a 6? If you think it's probably you're feeling better and it feels like a 6, write it down in your paper next to the person's name. Circle back in 24 hours. If it's still a 7, okay, well, maybe next time you do it, maybe you'll just forgive the energy around the person and that's it. Now, how are you going to know if you've actually forgiven them? Everybody feels something. Some people feel their shoulders lighter. Some people just have this knowing, it just feels different. Some people feel energy in their solar plexus, which is kind of in the middle of your stomach above your belly button. Some people get really sleepy. So I want you to do it before bed, obviously. But everybody is going to feel something.
Wow.
Now, please only do 10 people at a time and do it before bed. Do as I say, not as I did. I am an overachiever, well-documented overachiever, written a bunch of books. So when we came up with this method, I thought this could be great. I'm going to write down like 50 names and places and things, and I'm going to forgive them all at once before bed. I'm going to be like a phoenix rising from the ashes. I'm going to come out of my cocoon. I'm going to be a new person in the morning. Yeah, it didn't work out that way. I spent the next 3 days in bed. I spent the next 3 days in bed with what everybody thought was a stomach flu. It was not the stomach flu. It was just my body trying to get rid of all of those anger cells that we talked about from that Japanese study. It was just my body trying to get rid of all of that energetic sludge, if you will.
Right.
So if you are in the bathroom after you do this method, you did not eat a piece of bad fish. It's just your body clearing out some very, very old anger. So be kind to yourself, drink a lot of water, and if you get tired, take a nap. This is big.
Okay.
The energy it's real.
It is real. Yeah, absolutely. And then you talk about in the book how you might have to forgive somebody more than once. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, this is usually for business partners and family. Family is a big one for this because you might forgive somebody in your family, let's say your mother or your father, and then you have to go spend Thanksgiving or Christmas with them, and you're kind of back in the hole again when you get back, and it takes a week to decompress from that excursion to your family.
Right. Yeah.
And
you're like, well, that didn't work. I have definitely not forgiven them. Thought I did, but no.
No, you know. So here's my suggestion. The only reason I'm using Martha as an example is because I don't have an Aunt Martha in my family, so I felt it was a very safe name. So let's say you're going to Thanksgiving and you have to sit next to Aunt Martha. Aunt Martha drinks, and she's toxic, and she loves to push people's buttons and make them miserable and see people fighting. We all probably have relatives like this. I mean, she really loves it. You've begged with your family and your mother, don't put me next to Aunt Martha. But she does, because nobody else wants to sit next to her anyways, and you've already done it for like 10 years in a row, so there you are. So what do? Mm-hmm. Okay, about a month or a few weeks before the visit, I want you to rate Aunt Martha from 1 to 10. She might be a 10, whatever number she is. And then I want you to start the matrix. I want you to start the process and forgive Aunt Martha and the energy around Aunt Martha. And then I want you to pull out, the reason I call it a dumpster fire is because there's a lot of other pieces of the dumpster you can pull out before you even get to Aunt Martha. Let's pick out a Thanksgiving memory and let's forgive that particular date. Let's forgive the table, the chairs, the people at the table. Forgive the turkey and the stuffing. I'm actually not kidding. Forgive the energy around all these things. And then maybe forgive Aunt Martha. Then pick another date, another Thanksgiving where she was particularly toxic. Do the same thing. So by the time you get to Thanksgiving, is this going to change Aunt Martha? Sadly, I wish it would, but it does not. She's still she's still going to be Aunt Martha, but you're going to be different. Her vitriol, her hatred is not going to affect you like it did before. You're probably not going to care. You're just not. And if you do care and she does push one of those buttons, I have been known to walk out to my car, close all the windows, lock the car, and sit in the car going, I forgive them, I forgive them, I forgive them, I forgive them, I forgive them. And it's not, I don't mean any of it, but it reminds me to get into that forgiveness thing. And then before I go to bed, I'll do one that matters. And I'll pull out pieces of the memory. If I can't forgive the person, I drink my own Kool-Aid. God, I've got to stop saying that. That's such a horrible thing. It's such a, it
you
really
should forgive
is
yourself, though.
Now
yes,
everybody's going to Google
for
what
saying
that
it.
Means. Please don't Google that. It's a real horrible thing. I do my own stuff, shall we politely say. And so I'll go home the night before, at that night, and I'll actually do the forgiveness properly this time. But that's how I manage those kinds of situations.
Okay. And if anybody is listening to this and is like, I don't really need to do it. I don't know the benefit. You wrote in your book, you're going to feel so much better after doing these exercises. You're never going to want to go back to the old you. The new you feels too good. What happens now? Life happens. Love happens. Live your life to its fullest. Bring joy and peace to others. Be a light that people can follow. Be a lighthouse and shine your light to guide others. So it really is life-changing stuff.
You're going to feel better. Coffee's going to smell better. Even if you do the 1s, 2s, and 3s, the easy ones, the the sun is going to seem brighter. People are going to seem happier. You're going to notice laughter more than you did before. You're just going to start to notice really good things. And the negative Nelly people that you're living with are also going to notice. Don't be surprised if people leave your life as well. Jim Rohn quoted a very famous quote, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Who are you spending time with? And those, if they're all negative, as you get more positive and you start to forgive more people, they're probably gonna walk out of your life, you know. And some of them you probably want to let them go. Thank you very much. Let them do it. But the good news is, new ones will come in, right? And if you're living with your number 10 toxic person, he's a 15, not a 10, really horrible. I think maybe Holly and I would like you to move and leave. And if you can't move or leave, then just start doing the forgiveness process and spending more time with positive people. It will help. And it's going to shift everything.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because what actually popped into my mind just a few seconds ago is, you know, thinking about my clients. I'm a divorce lawyer. I have clients that are, you know, sort of embroiled in conflict with this other person, who of course is the person that more than anyone else in their life knows how to push their buttons, knows, you know, all the things to really ramp things up. And when they're still in the process of a divorce, like, new stuff is happening all the time. New hurtful things are occurring. So is there any like timeline to doing this exercise? Is it like, okay, well, I have to wait till all the bad stuff is over and then I can start my forgiveness journey with this person? Or no, you can just, wherever you are right now, whatever the relationship is, you start.
You can start 30 seconds after this broadcast ends if you want to. It doesn't matter. I've been known to do it, you know, I like people to do it before they go to bed, but I've been doing this a while. So now I do it as I'm wandering around places, in the grocery store, that kind of thing. But I'm very picky about who I forgive, because it really does make you tired. The energy really does take it out of you. But if you're embroiled in a bitter divorce and you can't forgive your soon-to-be ex, well, then pull things out of the dumpster. Forgive other things. Maybe you can't. Forgive the suitcase. Forgive the bed. Forgive the house. Forgive the garden. Forgive the garage. Forgive the car. I'm actually serious. Forgive yourself for not being able to forgive. And the more you do this, the easier it's going to get. And can you get your spouse from a 10 down to a 1? It's going to take a moment. If your spouse is like a 15 on the scale, it's going to take a minute. And I'm the only one that's ever going to tell you this. You may never be able to forgive that person. There are some things that are unforgivable, and there are some things that you just can't forgive. So, and I'm not trying to bash any speakers or life coaches. Don't email me. I like you guys. But they all talk about this brick wall that we all hit, right? And we're going to get through the wall, and here's some tools to get through the wall, that kind of thing. Okay, well, pull some things out of the wall, walk around the dumb thing, keep going, circle back if you can. So forgive what you can and circle back later. If you can't circle back, keep going. Because the most important person that you can forgive in a divorce situation for your clients is yourself.
Right.
And maybe the kids, and maybe the house, and maybe some other stuff maybe he or she took. Forgive yourself, forgive some other things, walk away. Forgive what you can and keep going. That might be just enough. That might be just what you need.
Yeah. So for the things that someone feels is unforgivable, what do they do? I mean, I guess you just answered it. They just keep going.
You just keep going. Some things, you know, there are some magical unicorn people on this world that can forgive everything and they can forget. And I don't know how they do it. They're like Susie Sunshine from Sunnybrook Farms. Most of the time, you just want to shake them or hit them, right? But you get tired. You get in trouble if you shake or hit people, right? You're a lawyer. Yeah.
Yeah. That's assault and battery. It's generally frowned upon.
Yeah, exactly. So I think forgiving what you can to take the energy out of the situation is key here. And I think you have to be kind to yourself. If your spouse has done what you think is unforgivable, I believe you, then it's unforgivable. Then I want you to forgive everything else. Forgive the energy. You're not forgiving your spouse, but you can forgive the energy around your spouse.
Right.
You can forgive other things in the memory. And what if you can't do even that? I had a friend who couldn't even do that with her parents. She said, I can't even do that. That's how bad it was. And I said, forgive yourself for not being able to forgive. And she did that for 2 weeks. Yeah, and it started to tip the scales. And then she was able to pull a little bit out of the memory and a little bit more. So it took some time. You know, it took some time. Forgive the people who didn't believe you. That's an easy one to start with. And forgive the energy around these people. Forgive your spouse's divorce lawyer. Can you forgive that person?
Please do that.
That's a stranger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Forgive yourself. You know, you married this person because it was, let me put it this way. Every morning you wake up and you're a brand new person. The person I was yesterday is in the past. The past can't hurt me anymore. And I created that person so I could survive. You can forgive that person.
Right. Yeah, that's beautiful. Wow. Well, Katharine, thank you so much. I know that, you know, it seems like in this world today, there's a lot of hurting people, you know, from so many different things, from childhood to divorce and everything in between and everything after. So I know this work is really valuable and it is significant. And I think probably after talking to you, we underestimate just how valuable forgiveness is for ourselves. So thank you for kind of shedding a light on that.
One more thing before we log off that I forgot to mention. You can forgive politicians. You can forgive the Middle Eastern war. It's not going to solve the Middle East crisis, but if you're looking at the news and it's making you mad and there's people on there and places on there and things on the news that are really pushing your buttons, you can forgive that stuff.
Wow.
You can forgive those politicians. You can forgive the illness that you got. You can forgive all of this stuff. That's what people are not understanding. And you can forgive the energy around this stuff. And if we could get a lot of people to do it, just that, if there's nobody else you have to forgive, go watch the news and write down what pisses you off and forgive that.
Right. If you need to find someone to forgive, watch the news.
Exactly. Something on there is going to irritate the heck out of you. There's going to be some policy change or something. I don't get political, but something in there is going to say, wow, you know, that's not right. Okay, forgive it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going to help them, but it's going to do a heck of a lot for you.
Yeah, and really at the end of the day, I mean, we only have control over ourselves anyway. So it's you know, trying to affect change in somebody else is really kind of futile anyway.
Well, I did have a client whose mother was completely awful. And she said, I'm going to buy your book for her, but she's not going to read it. And I said, okay. Right. So she bought the book and I followed up with her a few weeks later. I said, what did you do? She said, I left it on her coffee table. I said, has she touched it? She said, no, but when I see it there, it makes me feel better.
Well, there you go. I mean, yeah, small steps, baby steps.
Baby steps. Maybe she'll look at it while she's dusting. Who knows? You know, there's always hope.
Yeah, there is always hope. I agree with that. Yes. Well, Katharine, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I've got just a little bit more to say. We all have so much hurt that we walk around with, whether it was from 50 years ago or 5 minutes ago. And I think what we don't realize is how detrimental that is to ourselves. It's doing nothing for the person that you're upset with, but it's causing a lot of harm to yourself. So start with forgiveness and free yourself of those angry thoughts, those hurtful thoughts, because never ever forget, you were made for more.